Fleeing from the Cylon tyranny, the Borgcast Galactica leads a ragtag fugitive fleet of feedbackers on a lonely quest for a shining drink known as beer. Hello, friends!
Hello!
Welcome to Galactica 2.3. We're covering the episode Spaceball and the Night the Cylons Landed, parts 1 and 2. But first of all, just a little bit of...
Last time on Battlestar Galactica.
Because we were just randomly watching an episode of The A-Team the other day, weren't we?
Yes.
And who should turn up but John Quaid, a.k.a. Sheriff Ellsworth from the Super Scouts.
Yes.
It was the episode There's Always a Catch, in which he was leading a nasty bunch of fishermen who were trying to muscle out another group of fishing people and
buggering up the lobsters or something.
Yeah, and the A-Team saw them off, of course. So there you go. But anyway, on to Spaceball. Watch out.
I've been sent by Commander Adama to help you with the children.
A television camera. Primitive, but fascinating.
What's going on here? An $80,000 color camera. They took it apart.
You know, kids playing anything, the pure joy to watch. Kids got an arm like Nolan Ryan.
Okay, I gotta talk to you. Now that I have your attention...
Well, hello, Miss Hamilton.
It's caught!
So, Xavier is on the loose.
Yes, they haven't forgotten about him. Amazing.
Because he's re-entered their timeline or something.
Or something.
That's where he was.
Yeah.
Or something.
Having been somewhere to pick up a German accent for a while. Which he didn't have before.
No.
But hey, it's a different actor. More of which later.
So
Did you notice I should have freeze-framed? On the title credits, they misspelled director.
No, I didn't notice that.
This is directed by...
Wow.
Classy. Galactica 1980. Classy.
Nice. So, they say that the Galactica is still leading the Cylons away from Earth, except they send people back.
Yeah, I think this is why it takes them longer and longer to get back to them each time. They're obviously heading off some distance now, so it kind of works.
Okay. They say they're still seeking a home for their young, but the young that they've got on Earth are jeopardising their ability to fit in by using their superpowers, and you get a shot of a child bouncing into a tree.
Yes.
And then he says that they're leading to the inevitable final battle with the Cylons. And it's like, an inevitable battle, yes. Why do you think it's final? Are you really pessimistic and you know that you're going to have one more battle and you're going to lose? Because why else would it be final?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I never noticed him saying that before in the introduction bit. So maybe they're just trying to amp up the tension a bit. Good luck.
Yeah. So then, carrying pretty much straight on from last time, Troy and Dylan go to find out about their urgent mission. And a bloke called Lieutenant Nash appears, and he doesn't look dodgy at all.
No, and nor does he sound dodgy.
Dracula!
That's more like a flick. Do you recognise him?
I did, but you know me. It's the Battlestar drinking game, isn't it? That was mentioned. That yes,
he's somebody you definitely wouldn't expect to be turning up on something as shoddy as Galactica 1980, because this is Jeremy Brett.
Bloody hell!
Yes, classy Shakespearean actor Jeremy Brett.
As in the one who did Sherlock Holmes.
As in the very same.
Wow. Wow.
I can only assume he was on holiday in the US because he did this. He did The Incredible Hulk as well, but not a lot else US stuff before returning to do more Shakespeare. Perhaps it just put him off for life. I wouldn't be surprised. But it's weird hearing him talk in a German accent.
Yeah.
Which he never had before, because this is, of course, Xavier, actually, who's changed his face somehow.
Yeah.
One can only assume that Richard Lynch wasn't available for this. Or perhaps he saw the script and decided he wasn't available for this.
Or already they're having budgetary issues and they couldn't afford
him.
Richard Lynch.
Yeah. Although, having said that, I can't believe that Jeremy Brett was cheap. But anyway.
Well, I don't know, because he had a really bad downward spiral having got addicted to cocaine playing Sherlock Holmes. So this might have been in the phase when he was trying to resurrect his career.
I think this was before, but let me have a look at that.
So, Troy and Dylan's orders are sealed into the Computron. And so then the creepy guy is here to watch the children. who are with Jamie because she is the woman.
She is that woman, yes.
So then she turns up at work with all the kids and tells them kind of to amuse themselves and teach themselves about how cameras work. So then you get the educational bit about...
Yeah, how many lines make up a camera screen and all that stuff, yeah.
And then one of the kids takes the camera apart in order to demonstrate it. Jamie volunteers to cover a story about a children's camp because she can see that this would be a good cover. And apparently the guy who runs the camp had the potential to be the greatest baseball player, so I'm guessing he's some famous dude.
Sherlock Holmes was after this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, later in the 80s. So, yeah, he did this before. Perhaps this is what gave him the addiction, I don't know. Oh, man.
So, do we know... I say do we know. We don't do baseball. Would Americans have known Baseball Dude, or is he just some bloke with blonde hair?
Oh, Baseball Dude. Oh, do you mean the person who set up the camp in the first place?
Yeah.
He's not a real person, no. Billy Ayres. Yeah, he's played by Paul Koslow, who's one of the pilots in the equally cheap and nasty Robot Jocks.
Okay.
Remember that piece of rubbish? Also turned up in the Omega Man, Stargate SG-1, and had 2 different roles in the A-Team. Oh, wow.
Okay.
And in this, he's got a missing arm. I wonder how they achieved that with that suspicious bulge in his shirt. But no, he isn't a real person. It's not like they're drawing from reality here. Not that they ever are.
So then you've got Mr. Brooks wanting a word with Jamie because she keeps disappearing off on things.
This is his last appearance in the series. But we still never learnt his first name. Never mind.
No. But isn't there a... Mel? Maybe it's Mel Brooks.
What? Oh, I see. You've decided that his name is Mel Brooks. Okay. Yeah. No, not even close.
No. So then he's like, in the end, he's sort of, he's all right with the fact that she's been going off whatever because she says it's to do with a story, but he assigns her a cameraman.
I want my handheld pumps. I want the sci-fi meat. I want Jane and Barbara to refer me to the blackboard. 'Cause I'm a cameraman.
Yes, very good.
I don't know this dude. Am I supposed to?
You don't know. You're not. I don't think. I think he's yet another unlisted person.
Oh, one of these people who has lines and shit and doesn't get
credited.
credited.
Oh no, that's all right. He's credited on this. There are a few actors in this that aren't, but Hal, that's the character's name. It's played by Burt Rosario, who was in Street Hawk. Yes.
Oh wow.
Manimal. Yes. Knight Rider. Yes. BJ and the Bear. Of course. And Buck Rogers. House. I declare, Glenn A. Larson House.
That's supposed to be another drink, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mr. Brooks says, this cameraman's going with you, and I don't want any... He doesn't actually say, I don't want any more of your shit, but that's effectively what he says. And then the camera bloke, whose voice I recognised, even though I didn't recognise his face, you know, the guy whose camera it is.
Yeah, Hal.
No, not the one who's going to be working the camera. The one who has the camera that the kids take apart.
Oh, the bearded guy.
Yeah.
Oh no, he's one of our randoms that aren't listed at all. Yeah.
Okay, so I recognise his voice, but you know we don't know where from because we know who he is.
Yeah.
And he's like all come to complain, but in the meantime, the kids have put it back together again. So
he reminded me a bit of Richard Stilgoe with that beard, I must admit, but it wasn't Richard Stilgoe clearly.
No, the hair colour's wrong for Richard Stilgoe.
Yeah, but face was similar. He was a bit taller than Richard Still Not Dead. I'm assuming he's still not dead. Oh, no. Dead. I'm sure this has come up before and we Googled him and he wasn't, but maybe I'm wrong.
You can look that up.
Richard Still Not Dead. RichardStillgoe.com. Wow, he's got his own website, even if he is deceased.
I thought he died.
Born... No, he's still alive. You keep killing him off, but no, he lives. The age of 76.
Okay.
He does an awful lot of work for charity, so I won't have a word said against Richard Still Not Dead. Although he wasn't he was, so it wasn't quite daytime television. It was that sort of.
He did that kids show called Finders Keepers that wasn't the ITV one with the house. It involved coloured squares.
Yeah, and he used to do a lot of sort of evening TV.
And quite a
nationwide.
lot of radio. He might still do radio.
He might do, although at the age of 76, I think he's earned retirement. He's from Camberley. He lives in Camberley.
Yeah, you say that, but there's people older than 76 still doing radio.
True. His output includes collaborations with Andrew Lloyd Webber and Peter Skellern. Hey, quality. I don't know why we're talking so much about Richard Still Not Dead on the basis he is not in this episode. But that would be a thing, wasn't it? Richard's Still Not Dead in Galactica 1980.
Whereas Richard's still not in this episode.
Yeah, yes. But hey, if they can have Jeremy Brett...
Well, you don't know, do you? So then the boss is like, look, you owe the kids an apology. And because Jamie is like, look, what do you think happened? One of your crew was working on it, or these kids have put it back together, which is it? And, you know, they choose to believe. It's like, isn't it Pratchett says that if your brain just won't compute what's sort of totally beyond it. So he goes, yeah. And I like that the boss is understanding. He's like, okay, and then he's like, where have you picked up these scouts from? And she explains that it's from that previous thing, and he's just
explains, because that's because actually it's like, oh yes, I found these kids when I was covering my last story. They're orphans. Okay, why are you taking them around? It doesn't really explain anything, does it?
Not really. And then you've got Troy and Dylan, who have clearly been trapped, and their power is decreasing. So you get shots, and it's repeated throughout the episode, of sort of vaguely out of focus on the wonk still frame of the ship that isn't moving.
Right, yes, from the front, yes. Yeah.
One of many, and the turbo button doesn't work. Oh no. So they realise there must be something wrong. And basically it turns out that Xavier pretended to be Nash, and he's changed his appearance via epidermal transfer.
Yeah.
Which
apparently Dr. Z says, they've mastered now. Well, if that's the case, why the hell do you look like that, you...
Yeah, exactly.
Stunted twit.
And then they say that Xavier must want the children as a bargaining chip. And then they say that they can't send any other warriors. You're like, why not? And they say, well, they don't know where Jamie is. And it's like, well, they know who Jamie is because she's been on the fucking Galactica. They know who she works for. It can't be that fucking hard, surely.
No, you wouldn't think so. I mean, considering how easily Nash finds them, but anyway.
So then you have Starla at the baseball camp, and she throws the ball far too far. And there's basically this whole big thing.
Oh, you missed a bit where they all turned up in the one car. How many kids?
How did they fit?
Well, half of them are in the boot. Yeah, remember the days when you could have kids in the boot? I used to ride around in the boot of our car when I was a kid. It was fantastic. You think about how dangerous it was now. All it would have taken is somebody rear-ending us. That would have been it squished. But yeah, back in the day, you could do that. And of course, it's one of those big old American station wagons. There's loads of room for kids.
Yeah, if you can all sit on each other's laps, not wear a seatbelt.
Yeah, well, of course, no seatbelt. So.
Yeah. But, so they're at this baseball camp, and Sarah throws a ball too far, and everybody's sort of asking questions, and it's all, no, you can't do that, you've got to be... what was it? What did the kid say? Something like muscular degenerates or something. Weird shit phrase he uses. So then you've got Troy and Dylan, and they're using up their oxygen. It's yet another one of them fucking annoying still shots. They've only got 8 hours of oxygen left, so one of them sleeps, so the other one is trying to contact the Galactica.
Funny enough, that's a technique that Amory and I used to get through episodes of 1980. Take your turns to sleep.
Meanwhile, now is it Sidel or Seidel?
Oh, I'm not completely sure. Colonel Seidel, I think.
Okay, the Air Force man.
He's back. Oh yeah.
So they've given him a desk job, told him to stop chasing UFOs, even though, as his lieutenant says, that is your job. And he picks up this file, and it's clear the scout, with Jamie and Troy and Dylan, he's like, I've got to find out about her. It's clear that the scouts are imposters. He wants to know where the camp is, so he goes to UBC to find out.
Yeah, he's sort of, I don't know what, assistant officer, whatever you want to call her.
Adjutant?
Possibly, yes. Lieutenant Trent. She's played by Maria Healy, who's a reoccurring character and Amy replacement Tonya Baker in the A-Team.
I thought I recognised her.
Yes, she's in several episodes, although she didn't really work out, so they dropped her.
Yeah. So then fake Nash appears and initially scares Amy, and then he's like, oh, I'm here for the children. She's like, oh, that's such a relief, And then in a really creepy fucking voice, he goes, I love the children.
I love the children. You realise, actually, he's cosplay Xavier.
Yeah, he is. And then you get the phone call from Brooks going, sort of what's going on, this guy's turning over. But what I like about him is he says, I understand that you're on a story and that you want to keep stuff under your hat. For now, he's trusting her, presumably because she brought him the big story in the pilot episode.
Yeah, possibly.
I don't know.
Let's face it, his motivations are whatever suits the plot at this particular moment, aren't they? So
yeah, I suppose. And then you have Xavier talking to Adama, trying to make demands, and he refers to Dr. Z as that infantile wizard, to which you responded, that infantile wizard sleeve, which made me giggle. And he says he'll stay on Earth, but he'll abide by the galactic laws. And then Adama says, I can't make this choice on my own. He says, you've got 10 hours to confer with whoever and come back to me. And then you have the baseball game, which, because it's baseball, is shit, and mostly I will skip through it. Basically, they start off trying to lose because the Air Force man is there. Then they're allowed to win because being in a scrum will save them. What a surprise, they win. That bit's dealt with. Right. Meanwhile, in space, they're running out of air again, so Troy takes the computer apart, and then they've got to do some repairs on the outside, and you fucking obvious wires.
Yeah, to begin with, there are two scenes. The first one, when they're first sort of floating around the ship, looks really good, and they're actually, I don't know how they've done it, but it looks realistically like the ship is floating in space for a change, and they're hanging around it doing their work. And then you come back to them, and the wires are so clear.
Really obvious.
It is unfortunate, to say the least.
So then you have Adama contacting Cosplay Xavier, and he says no. He says, if we give in to this demand now, what else are you going to demand from us?
Very sensible of him.
How about no?
How about no?
How about no? And then...
But Jamie overhears, so she now knows that it's about what his pretend name, Nash, is about.
Yes, yeah, which is why she gets them to now win, so that they've got the safety of the scrum.
Yes, because, of course, what better place to hide than in a crowd right in front of people?
Well, they can't physically get to them, that's the point.
And speaking of hiding, now the whole world knows that these kids can do amazing jumps.
Yeah, and
go
bury
super
balls
fast
in the ground. And
yeah, it's not the most subtle of plans, really, is it? I can't help feeling it's just going to lead to more exposure, not less.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So then, meanwhile, Troy and Dylan have sorted themselves out, and they're on their way. They're going to have to fly.
Because you have to do this every episode.
Yeah.
And you think, oh, well, at least it's not a chase that they're escaping from by flying. But they actually use footage that they've used before of a police car behind them, chasing them.
Yeah. And then you get Cosplay Xavier wants to have access to the children, as does the Air Force guy. And Jamie's like, to the Air Force guy, well, you can speak to them, once they've got the trophy or whatever. And then says, this guy wanted them. And then Cosplay Xavier turns around to the Air Force and goes, I must insist that you leave. And I love this. He just looks at him and goes, must you? He's not scared. He's not bothered at all. But then Cosplay Xavier turns a gun on the Colonel, at which point Troy and Dylan arrive and there's a shooting match. And then you get this fuck-off weird scene where the Colonel is face down.
Yeah, he gets zapped.
And they think
goes
that
down.
well, certainly Jamie thinks that he might be dead.
Yeah.
And Troy is basically saying, well, he'll be okay if he gets medical attention. And Dylan is just fucking grinning.
Yeah.
He's just there grinning. It's just like,
yeah, look at him on the floor.
Yeah.
Dying.
It's just,
And unfortunately, this is the last time we see Colonel Seidel, so maybe he did bite it. Because in our next story, we have another Air Force colonel who's interested in the children. Because presumably the actor had given up at this point.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, indignity.
And then you end up with a whole sort of, I've got to take the kids home now. And it was like, and then you get the real sort of obvious setup and whatever where Jamie goes, let's hope they're not good at any other sports, which obviously they're going to fucking be because they can run faster and jump higher or whatever. And so Starla shoots a basket.
Yay.
No. No.
Yeah.
And I skipped over the shitty watching of the unnecessary baseball.
Yeah, if we weren't going to be won over by Take Me Out to the Holosuite, we were not going to be won over by this, were we?
No. But to be fair, just sport, even for sport I like, sports movies don't do it for me. They're too predictable, I find.
Yeah, you just know they're going to win in the end.
Yeah. There'll be a humiliating defeat, there'll be some bullying, and then they'll win in the end.
Yeah.
By a very small margin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually at the last minute if timing is a thing.
Yeah. So, why watch?
Yeah.
You know what's going to happen before you press play.
I will say that the one shot they have where they, that they hit the ball and it goes right into the earth, that's really well achieved. But other than that, yes, not interesting. Sorry.
No, not at all.
I mean, I think it's a good move that they pretty much wrote Troy and Dylan out for most of the episode and left them in space.
Dylan has fewer opportunities to be stupid and accidentally rob a bank.
Yes, so we get more of Jamie, which generally is good. Although with this, she just keeps flip-flopping into deciding whether or not they're going to win or lose or whatever, which is a bit annoying, to be honest.
Yep.
But the kids, I didn't find them too annoying in this.
Wellington's fucking annoying. He's just slapping the face with a wet
yeah,
fish.
but I think they seem less annoying just because you're too busy being annoyed by baseball. So
yeah,
the whole world now knows they've got superpowers. That's not clever.
No.
Jeremy Brett, very good as Xavier. Don't really think he needed the accent, but he's nicely creepy, so it's what you want from the role. But we don't think we're going to see him again.
No.
and just as ever, so cheap.
Yeah, and not really a lot happens, to be honest.
No, a lot of it is baseball, let's face it.
Yeah.
At least they didn't try and stretch this one out to 2 episodes.
Well, I suppose there is that.
Anyway, shall we find out what other people thought?
Yes, let's.
We've heard from Jeff Hyman. I like baseball as a concept. I can't help it. It's baked deep into the pulp culture here in the United States. I don't follow the actual sport at all, but I've enjoyed a number of movies and television episodes that feature the great American pastime. I actually really enjoyed Deep Space Nine's Take Me Out to the Holosuite. Never mind. However, I only enjoyed parts of Spaceball.
Oh,
what a surprise! For as shoddy and careless of a series this has been so far, this episode is even worse.
Yeah.
We spent far too much time with the children being obnoxious, precocious, especially Wellington.
Oh, yeah, fuck him.
What kind of name is Wellington for a child of the fleet? For anybody, to be honest. The other hippy-dippy names make a kind of sense with their space themes. Apparently they couldn't get Richard Lynch back to portray Xavier, so he regenerates into Sherlock Holmes. I remember enjoying Jeremy Brett's portrayal of the great detective when I was younger, but his performance here didn't impress. He was fine in the role of a moustache twirler, but I guess I expected more. With this writing, no hope.
Yeah.
Troy and Dylan are put out of the way in the most fitting way for the characters, sitting down and doing nothing.
Yep.
These scenes would have been interminable if not for the laughable effects work. The front-on view of the Viper sitting in space was obviously blurred, still image of stock footage, and every time they cut into the cockpit, the stars outside were still in motion.
Yep.
That spacewalk scene was a comedy goldmine too. At one point, they had a long close-up shot of the wire rigging on one of the suits.
Yeah.
I actually enjoyed the baseball scene, as absurd as it was, and Jamie was fun in this episode. She handled being saddled with a gaggle of obnoxious children pretty well, and her scrambling to come up with these semi-plausible explanations for the oddities of the children was entertaining. Well, okay, I'm glad you enjoyed that, Jeff.
Yeah.
Yeah, just seemed a bit desperate to me, really. Not her finest hour, I think it's fair to say.
No, but she did more than in Space Scouts.
Yeah, well, she didn't disappear halfway through the episode, anyway.
Yeah.
And we've heard from Puri.
Hello, Orgs. Puri here to talk about the Galactica 1980s episode, Spaceball. Was going to do a Spaceballs joke, but can't bring myself to it. We thought the Super Scouts were bad. Now, in fairness, this episode makes a good decision. I know you're thinking, something's up with Murray, possibly cake abuse or something, but no, hear me out in this one. They make the good decision of hiding Barry and Kent in a haunted painting of a Viper, or a haunted photo of a Viper. Yeah, so they basically lock them in a Viper for the episode and let Jamie take over, which would have been good if 2 major things hadn't happened. One, that we didn't constantly cut back to them slowly suffocating in their haunted picture of a Viper, and 2, that Jamie's story wasn't then a very, very standard 80s TV trope of a kind of orphanage/baseball camp under threat of foreclosure that has to be saved by her and her superpowered children saving the day. There is also the subplot. I mean, this is kind of the real problem with this episode. Well, no, it's tedious and boring, but the real crux of the problem in this episode is that you have the return of Xavier. Now, he's apparently had a face transplant because they couldn't afford what's-his-name Lynch anymore. Let that sink in for a bit. That's how little they've got left. And yeah, when he shows up, he's clearly dodgy. It's not just the German accent, although I was initially thinking of him as, was a dodgy voice Von Villain bloke. And yeah, he does all the things of, yes, where is the children? I look forward to taking care of them. I will make sure they are dealt with. It's how come, I know, like, not everyone with a German accent's evil, but, seriously, when you put that intonation onto it, sorry, before we close this cockpit, you appear to have said, it will be your last. Can you repeat that? No, fine. Okay, so yeah, like I say, the Barry and Kent stuck in a Viper. Adama's job now seems to be to go up to Dr. Z and look worried. He'll say, "Oh my God, they're trapped," and Dr. go, "Yes, that's indeed the case, but we'll manage." And Adama goes, "Oh, I mean, okay, come on. This is Lauren Green. He's a good actor, and he's been like the linchpin of the series, and now he's just sent to looking slightly befuddled around the Milky Bar kid." And the story about the baseball, well, again, they could have done a fairly decent plot here of Jamie trying to avoid detection by the military and knowing that Xavier is there. But it's just this tedious, you got to be good at baseball, now be rubbish, now be good, now be rubbish, now be good. Oh, look, the team they're playing is full of little shits. Well, there's a surprise. Yeah, and I mean, it doesn't help that I don't really care much about baseball, but even if you did, is this really going to be entertaining? Or is it just going to be kind of tedious back and forth thing with nothing really of value in it? That's kind of where I found it. Oh no, I'm not even saying they're trying their best, because they aren't. They're just, there's motions being gone through here, and like I say, this is almost a dust off a script from the A-Team or the Fall Guy or future Knight Rider scripts or that sort of thing. There's a good cause that's being foreclosed upon, and so our heroes have to do something to save it, usually win a baseball game, because of course you've got to win a baseball game. And yeah, this was just boring. I'd say this, I mean, I'm not sure if it's worse than the Super Scouts or not. I suppose this one had a bit of focus, where the Super Scouts were just random ideas, but still, this felt a lot like filler. But on the other hand, they did have Troy and Dylan stuck in a haunted photograph for a while, so I think it was meant to be a haunted photograph. I mean, what could the other explanation be? So there was that. But hopefully the next episode has Cylons in the title, so I'm looking forward to that. So until then, bye for now.
Looking forward to an episode of 1980. Have you learnt nothing?
Yeah, but an episode of a science fiction show that's science fiction and not baseball is still going to be better than the science fiction show that doesn't have the science fiction in it.
Well, you've not seen the next episode yet, so
no.
Really, I don't hold out too much hope.
Right. Okay.
I mean, the next episode two episodes achieve levels of randomness that, even for 1980 are just stunning. So anyway, but we'll get to that in a bit.
Yeah.
So true. Yeah, the threat of the closure of an orphanage is such a trope, isn't it?
It could be the A-Team. Honestly, it could.
Could be the A-Team. Could be the Blues Brothers. Could be any number of programs from this decade. I suppose you could argue it hadn't become a trope yet, but even so, blimey.
Yeah.
And yeah, that flip-flopping that Jamie has, it just makes her out to be a completely indecisive twit. So
yeah, and there is potentially a better story here of Jamie and the kids trying to avoid both detection and Xavier.
But hopefully avoiding baseball at the same time.
That would be good. Avoid the baseball. Thank you, sir.
Thank you all.
What did Drew and Tracy make of this one?
So, that was Spaceball.
It was.
What do you think about that?
It's alright.
Well, when we watched the trailer, we was like, oh, this is going to be right fucking cheese-tastic. And it was, to be fair, but let's go through the points in case.
Okay.
We knew Nash was going to be a baddie.
When he started off, yeah. And
when he started talking, he was like, he's English. Well, he sounded English, but his accent was kind of varying between German and English. And we were like, yep.
When he went, I wouldn't count on it, Captain. He was like, yeah, he's baddie.
Yeah, he's a baddie. The bloke running the basketball thing was a bit of a weirdo. What was the one-arm thing about?
Billy, he was called, wasn't he?
Billy. He clearly was a little bit wider on the left side.
His
where his
shirt seemed to be quite wide, but only on one side.
Where it was tucked down. And I said to you, it's obviously fake. And you were like, oh no, this is going to be a bit of the storyline. There was no reason for him not to have an arm.
We did... If we're breaking the fourth wall, we did have a bit of a Google.
We
best make sure he hasn't actually got one arm.
Yeah, because I did read
Battlestar Galactica Wikipedia, and they said something about it's mentioned in there that he's got only Accident? I don't know.
There was no mention of anything that I saw.
I didn't get that. When the Viper went wrong, Xavier programmed the Computertron or whatever it's called.
Why are you calling him Xavier? Because it was Nash.
Nash, Xavier.
Fine.
Yeah. I liked when Troy said, when it went wrong, and he goes, there's nothing on the malfunction indicators. Oh, unless the malfunction indicators are malfunctioning. It's like, brilliant.
No shit, Sherlock. Ta-da! Jeremy Brent.
Yes, I know.
That was a good one.
Nash, yes.
Yeah. So the clip where they kept kind of showing like Dylan and Troy like in the
they were stuck in
a
static image, wasn't
they? They were stuck in like a picture or freeze frame that was completely out of focus. And then when they decided to put their big masks on and go out and kind of try and fix the electronics or whatever, you could clearly see
there's no advance of filming technology from Battlestar Galactica when Apollo and Starbuck are out there also on wires.
Why was Jamie Harrison dressed as Alice in Wonderland?
I know. When they showed the preview and she was dressed like that, I was like, oh, what's going on?
Yeah,
is this some kind of Alice in Wonderland thing?
She did look
like
Alice
literally was, yeah.
And I kind of get it that she's like she's the only kind of female role in this like 80s program. But she's wearing like stupid white slingback shoes and she's going to a ballpark and she's going to a park. You don't fucking wear heels if you're doing that. I don't believe any reporter would wear high heels. You'd have stuff you could run away from or, in.
We loved the bit where they put the call through to Commander Adama and it was Xavier stroke Nash and he went, Commander, how good to hear your voice once again. And Commander goes, who is this? It's just ridiculous.
Who the fuck do you think is calling you with some pseudo-German accent, Adama? Come on. Yeah, it was just crazy. It was mad.
I know. The thing was as well, it felt like it went on forever.
It did. This was like a super episode.
I know you went to me, this is a long episode.
How long has it got left?
I paused it and it's like 46 minutes long. It's a normal episode. It just feels like it goes on forever, doesn't it?
That doesn't say much about the episode, does it?
Episode length.
Yeah. It did feel like super long though.
It did. I don't think it's as good as the first two, if you call them 2 episodes. Like, obviously... They're multi-length episodes. Not as good as the others, but again, I'm like, yeah. I'm just so low expectations. I don't mind this at all.
I don't mind it. As I said before, I think I'm still nostalgic to the fact that this would have gone out on a Saturday night.
I'm watching it and I'm just like going, yep, that was an episode.
Yeah. I don't mind it.
No.
I'll just say one thing. Great looking Jamie's camera guy. He was a cross between a Liverpool eight guy.
He looks a bit like Bobby Bold, didn't he?
Yes, I missed it. Let's leave it there.
Yeah. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. It's Bobby Ball, the cameraman.
Yes, apparently.
Wow, I do find that amusing. Drew, you thought that the obvious fake one-arm thing was going to be a part of the plot, and they were going to unmask it.
Oh dear.
No, that didn't happen. I kind of wonder whether it would have done had it been the A-Team.
I don't know. I really. And I love the the damage control unit is damaged.
Yes.
That's straight from Red Dwarf, isn't it? For heaven's sake.
Yeah.
Oh, damn. Now the damage report machine's exploded.
But the thing about a reporter not wearing heels, I'm wondering if it's the culture at the time, because didn't Sarah Jane, who was a reporter, wear heels a lot, even when it was...
Everybody wore heels back then on telly anyway. Whether they did in real life is another matter, but yeah.
Because there was generally an expectation, I think, that women wore heels in all sorts of contexts, whereas now you still get some offices that expect women to wear heels, and there's been attempts to challenge it legally. But in more circumstances now, it isn't expected. But I think back then in 1980, she would have struggled not to.
Yeah.
I think. And yes, it is so funny when Adama's like, "Who is this?" And he's like, "Well, who else the fuck is it going to be?"
Yeah. Oh dear, he's got several. You know, he's got several other weird, crazy people on hold that he's dealing with currently.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
obviously.
And we've heard from the Llama God. What did he make of this pile of shite? Episode.
Fucking hell. Fuck me. Fucking hell. What the fuck? I mean, okay, we were kind of pre-warned, or I pre-warned you last time, that this was going to be an episode about baseball. And I guess the one saving grace of this episode is that although it does indeed feature baseball, this is possibly the only possible time in which the use of the name Spaceball is actually appropriate. But that's just another negative because, hey, you've already used that song recently on one of the other podcasts, so yeah, you can't even use Spaceballs as a closing song. Oh my god, yeah, baseball. We all hate baseball, right? Some of us don't. Michael Pillow, I was Stephen Bear, I can't remember who it was. They like baseball. Other Americans, I think they like baseball too, although they spend most of it getting drunk. Yeah, can't stand it. And not only was it baseball in this episode, this is just atrocious. I mean, easily the worst episode we've seen so far of the entire Galactica series, and including Galactica 78. I could just keep going on about how bad this is, so I will. Thing is, even on paper, when you look at the synopsis of this drama segment, it has nothing to recommend it. Jamie's left in charge of the kids, because of course she is, while the Warriors go off to have an exciting adventure in space, except they don't, and Javier's back, except they can't afford the original actor, so we're left with a second-rate actor. But this whole show is left with second-rate actors now, and a shit ton of annoying kids. They also can't even afford any effects. It's more obvious in this story that they can't afford the full set of the Galactica bridge anymore, and the shots in space. I was briefly impressed with the shot with the Warriors floating in space outside the Vibe, because it wasn't immediately obvious you could see the wires, but later on you can see the wires. Worse than that is when they're left floating helpless in space, and it's just a still image. It's not even a very good image, it's just a blurry still image of the Viper. I mean, oh my god, who signed off on this? And you also have to ask, when they look like they're running out of oxygen, they have to don other helmets in order to be able to breathe. They actually have separate helmets. A, how do they get changed into spacesuits and so those cramped cockpits? And B, if the helmets they wear normally don't have oxygen masks in anyway, what's the fucking point of them? This just makes no sense. And I am, of course, just trying to kill time to not have to talk about the baseball game. I mean, really, the kids come and save the local baseball team by being good at baseball and hilarious misunderstandings. I mean, honestly, that's pretty much all there is to it. I can say nothing else about this episode except that it's one that I've endured. Towards the end, one of the characters says, "I never want to see another ball game as long as I live." Amen to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, can't disagree. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I think we have our new play out anyway.
Yeah.
Apparently Jeff likes baseball, so at least somebody was happy anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got to remember, of course, this is primarily playing to United Statesians, so fair enough, I suppose.
I guess the vague equivalent would be that shit Doctor Who episode where Peter Davison plays cricket because reasons.
Oh my gosh, Forward to Doomsday. Yes, not a great episode, and yes, one of the fakest looking spacewalks since. Well, actually, this episode of Galactica 1980.
Right, yeah. So, but cricket being the sort of part of British culture, even if you don't follow it.
Yeah.
So, hence my thinking this is a parallel, really.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mr. Larman. Sorry to have broken you again.
Yeah, sorry, Mr. Llama.
Right, let's find out what Ol made of this.
Hello, Peter and Emery, it's Ol here, and I'd like to talk to you about Spaceball, which I've just watched for reasons that are difficult to justify. Although actually, I mean, the Super Scout to play baseball is obviously a terrible idea for a plot, and yeah, no one in their right mind would actually go out their way to watch the thing. But it wasn't as bad as I thought. Whether I've got some form of televisual Stockholm syndrome with this one or not, I don't know. But actually, I found myself quite enjoying it in spite of myself. I mean, okay, for the record, it's not good, but it's not really awful, which I was kind of expecting it to be. I think my expectations with this series have now bottomed out. That, yeah, it's a bit shit, but let's enjoy it for what it is. So, one of the reasons I think this works is because Troy and Dylan aren't in it. They get sent off by Xavier or Xavier, or no one seems to really settle on what his actual name is, but they get sent off and just sidelined for the entire rest of the show. The first act is a bit weird, the stuff at the TV station with Janie and the kids take a camera apart, and there's some really odd conversations between Jamie and her boss where, I mean, it feels like it's gone through Google Translate about 5 or 6 times because people don't talk like that. But after that, once they get to the baseball bit, which, I mean, let's face it, baseball is a sport that makes cricket look interesting. But, you know, they managed to make it work in this as much as it needs to because they don't show us very much of it. And it's quite fun. You know, the kids play baseball and they've got superpowers. I mean, once you're over that particular mental road hump, it all kind of works. There's the weird subplot with the Air Force colonel coming after them, which goes nowhere, does nothing. He ends up getting shot. I don't care. And yeah, Troy and Dylan don't die in the depths of space, cold and alone, which is a shame. But they come back at the end and there's a shootout and it's all slightly exciting. It is what it is. It's not great, but equally not as terrible as I feel this show is probably capable of being. And I will be back in a bit to talk about the night the Cylons landed, which hopefully has Cylons in. I'm quite excited because maybe that'll mean it's good. Anyway, see you in a bit. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Slightly exciting. Wow, I can't believe he's able to be that positive about it.
Yeah. And yeah, baseball does make cricket look interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's not wrong.
The old conversations is definitely a thing. Yeah, the whole Jamie and Mr.
Yeah.
What's his face? Dylan? No.
Mr. Brooks.
Mr. Brooks, that's it. Yeah. How are you supposed to have a character where you never know their first name? It's bizarre.
Oh, he's Mel, I told you.
Right. And, yeah, the lack of Troy and Dylan is definitely something in this episode's favour, but, you know,
But when Dylan is there, I mean, gurning over the potential dead body, which if you say, if the guy doesn't come back again, maybe he's fucking dead.
Yeah.
And he's just standing there grinning like a loon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the night the Cylons landed, set phases for weird.
Oh, okay.
The ship you seek is just now entering the Earth's atmosphere.
It is a Cylon vessel.
The Cylons will walk the Earth.
She's going in, about 60 miles north of New York City. Centurions, rise.
Our main concern is to get to the craft and its crew before anybody else.
Stop the car!
What happened?
The costume! It's incredible!
You just gave me a heart attack.
It's Halloween, right? Everybody has a blast tonight.
The night the Cylons landed. Bam, bam, bam. Welcome to Random City. Strap yourselves in, folks.
I think the writers were on drugs.
We're in for a choppy ride. He has 2 badly acted pilots called... It's not Cannon and Ball, sadly. It should have been Kanon and Britton, I think it is. Yes. Spot a new Cylon fighter known online as the AB fighter for some reason, or the AB Raider. It's bigger, faster, and more heavily armed than previous Raiders, although no more able to shoot straight, it has to be said. No. But I guess that's the Cylons inside that's to blame, but hey-ho. I mean, it's a cool model, and a new model. Oh, yeah. Simon. It's in keeping with previous Cylon designs. Has a cool red glow underneath as well.
I like that.
Apparently it was going to be introduced in the attack on the Delphian Super Scouts, but most of that was cut out, and I must admit, I was looking for it when we watched that. I never saw it, so... So, you know, it almost feels like we're watching proper Galactica, except with new model footage, which is quite a shocking thought, really. The amazing scanner they've got in their Vipers, earlier able, if you remember, to pick up the chromosomes on the inhabitants, now can detect the presence of humanoid Cylons on board. Humanoid Cylons? That won't catch on, will it?
No, nothing will happen with those in the future.
Yeah. The ships crash, Britain winds up unconscious, and the Viper loses power, and the AB is damaged too, drifting towards Earth. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Troy, Dylan and the kids are watching This Island Earth at the cinema.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
okay.
That's what that film is. I've never seen it, I must admit. But I do recognise the alien. That's been in 1,000,001 stills, so yeah. And Dillock is scared. What a surprise.
Dillock?
Yes, Dillock. That's what I'm calling him now.
Oh, okay.
He's just a big kid, isn't he?
He's a twat.
Yeah. When Adama hails to warn them about their lost patrol drifting into Earth, as he thinks, the Air Force is detected as well, and we get introduced to Colonel Briggs.
Now... Okay, our mate Boss has come up with the Borgcast drinking game, okay? And you have to drink whenever someone was in the A-Team or another Glenn A. Larson show, so there's a lot of drinking for a start.
Yeah.
But one of the other reasons you drink is if I say, well, I know him, but I don't know where from. So if you're going to be playing the Borgcast drinking game, I'm afraid you've got to take a drink now, because I know him, but I don't know where from.
Well, here we go. This is Peter Mark Richmond, who was in Next Generation's The Neutral Zone in Season 1 as the a-hole investor from the past, Ralph Offenhouse. I remember how much you liked his character back in the day. He also voiced the Phantom in Defenders of the Earth. Defenders. I can't help feeling this should have been Colonel Seidel, but yet another actor has either jumped ship or become unavailable. What's going on here? It's the third one.
He was face down and dead, and Dylan was laughing. So
yeah. Jamie says he's investigating them, so it sounds like it definitely would have been Seidel, who was indeed investigating them.
Or maybe it's like with the A-Team, when it was Colonel Decker, and then it was it?
Yeah, exactly the same thing happens in the A-Team, doesn't it, pretty much? They change the name of the characters, but it's clearly, it's the same idea, it's an officer chasing them, yes. Anyway, apparently the ship is due to crash into the middle of New York, which would be quite spectacular if it actually happened. The kids have now been taken to the Griffith Park Observatory, wherever the hell that is. And they're given a tour, and of course they know more about the galaxy than the poor tour guide, who's uncredited, by the way.
Oh no, speaking role as well.
Yeah.
But what I do like is we need to show this episode to flat earther cunts. Because they've got this thing, and more Americans need to be made aware of the thing. And I don't know what the
pendulum thing
is, but it shows that the Earth strings on its rotates on its axis.
But they can deny anything. And let's face it, if you're trying to back up your science with Galactica 1980, that's possibly not the best ammunition to use. But anyway...
Yeah, but maybe, I don't know, are Mormons flat earthers or not? I don't know. Maybe it's only evangelical Christian nutjobs who are.
Anyway, this week's science lesson is about the solar system and the universe.
To be fair, I quite like this.
Troy and Dylan admit to Jamie that they think one of their ships is crashing to Earth. So she sends them off, basically, and she has to look after the kids because she's the woman.
Except that she sends them to the camp.
Yeah, she just says she's going to go to the camp with them, so continuity, I guess? This in a show which regularly changes its actors and parts.
Oh, yeah. No, but as in she's going to take them to the camp. Mm-hmm. So, in other words, she's not going to be saddled with them.
Well, she is, because she never appears again, does she, in the story?
No, but she organises their plane tickets and stuff.
She does do that, at least, and she even thinks, because she's got a brain, to give them aliases.
Yeah.
Alias Smith and Jones, which apparently is a reference. Because all these lunkheads would have never thought of that, would they? Blimey.
No.
But they don't decide in advance who's Smith and who's Jones.
Because they're clever like that.
Just as well, I guess if it's an internal flight, they don't need passports, because that would have been problematical, but there we are. They're asked if they prefer smoking or non-smoking, which, yes, Galactica 1980, underline the 1980 there. Which way does the plane run best, Dillock asks.
Oh. That's supposed to be another thing, by the way. Dillock, i.e. Dylan being a pilot, you take a drink.
Mm-hmm.
So by now, you're fucking sloshed, because everyone's been in the A-Team. This episode even has got one of the writer or producer credits connected with the A-Team.
Yeah.
And there's lots of Dillock.
And then he asks Troy if he can fly the plane, and Troy sensibly tells him no. Turns out they've been followed onto the plane by a pair of Cuban terrorists, because, they've got to pad this episode out somehow. Again, they're uncredited. They do have quite a cool gun that's assembled from parts of a baby's buggy, but I mean, this is complete padding. It does nothing, goes nowhere, does nothing.
Oh, but and also as well, the bloke is one of the blokes who's in drag is like about as good at drag as Monty Python, and the baby is clearly a fucking doll because one of his eyelids is broken, and they still somehow get to go. Oh.
They try and divert the flight to Cuba, but Troy and Dylan stun them. And there's a kid who gives them away, but it appears he's not believed. And then later on, the steward says that they're heroes, so perhaps they were believed. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but this whole thing doesn't make any sense.
Shall we finger some bit parts?
Fnar.
I want a bit part in your life. A walk on will be fine. I just want a bit part in your life. A bit part in your life. I want a bit part in your life.
Yes, because the steward's played by Sheila Wills, who was Deetra back in Lost Planet of the Gods. And also there was footage of her in The Hand of God as well when she took off.
Which one's Deetra?
I have a picture here, there you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Anyway, yes, this is a typical bit of Larson goes nowhere, doesn't he? Larceny. Yes, we're calling it Larceny now. It's sort of rubbish random padding.
Yeah.
The Galactica have found their lost Viper, so they now know about the AB ship and the fact the Cylons have evolved into humanoids. It's more padding, because we already knew this. It's not telling us anything new whatsoever.
No, not at all.
The new ship is a 6-seater with 4 Centurions and 2 humanoid Cylons on board.
Yeah, but they've got really shitty helmets on.
Yeah.
That made me think of Derpy and whatever we called him.
Yeah.
You know, them shit robots from the...
Derpy and Herpy. Yeah.
That's it. Just wrong and
Vector
shit.
and Hector, I believe, but maybe I can't remember what their helmets look like. But anyway, they do look stupid. They look
Really
very Flash
stupid.
Gordon, to be honest.
No, that's doing Flash Gordon a disservice.
And they're sillier than Baltar's Cylon helmet that he had. You remember that? Anyway, confusingly, they're called Andromus and Andromachus, although it doesn't turn out to be that confusing because only one of them survives the crash. Spoilers. The FBI are going to board the plane, and Dylan and Troy realise they're in trouble again, so they go to the loo and turn invisible to the accompaniment to spooky music.
Yeah.
Because, of course.
Obviously.
Here's my hand. I got it. Now stay right behind me.
The hijackers are in the upstairs lounge with our senior purser. The two that subdued them are in the rear restroom.
Okay, you men go with the agents. I'll wait down here for the 2 gentlemen in the restroom.
They hail a cab and ask to go north, which I quite like. Can't imagine any cabbie putting up with that, to be honest, but there we go.
If I did that, I wouldn't know where the fuck I was going.
No. The humanoid Cylons are watching TV and realise they found Earth somehow from watching Westerns. I don't know how that works, but there we go. They ask a computer to calculate the odds of them surviving the landing, and when they read out the Centurions have a 1% chance of survival, all 4 of them turn around to look at them like, you what?
Yeah. I do like that bit.
A police patrol spots the Cylon craft come down and race past Dylan and Troy's cab, who then follow them. The first of the 2 officers is called Max, and he's played by Rennie Levant, who was in Rocky 2.
I recognised him from something, but I haven't seen Rocky 2. Has he done any voice acting?
I don't think so, no.
Okay.
And the second officer, who's called Leroy, was played by Ed Griffith, who was in Kentucky Fried Movie.
Okay, what was he in that?
I think he's the presenter who can see what's happening in the room when the couple are having sex.
Yeah, okay.
And he's also in Automan. Hey.
Oh.
I thought the crashed ship prop looked relatively good.
It didn't bear much resemblance to the ship.
Well, it's because it crashed, but it got some of the same colours, so I could live with that.
Oh, right, that's all you need then, is some of the same colours. Is that it?
In this case,
totally different shape.
My standards are lowered. Well, it's crashed, for heaven's sake. Of course it's a different shape.
Right.
Anyway, only Andromus and a single Centurion survive, and he gets called Centuri for the rest of it. I've never noticed Centurion get named before. Well, that's not true, of course. There's old Red Eye, and he's played by exactly the same guy as old Red Eye as well. Rex Cutter. Sensibly, they set off the auto-destruct to protect their technology.
Yeah.
Dylan and Troy arrive and identify the ship as Cylon. Well, duh. Then run inside, with the latter realising it's set to blow just in time, but too slow to avoid being picked up by the cops, and they're assumed to be drug traffickers. There's quite an impressive bit when the ship explodes and they go flying. That's quite good.
Really good stunts.
Yeah.
Really good stunts at that point.
It was stunts, you were saying there, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, just checking.
Yeah.
But, I mean, yeah. Anyway, the police find their ray guns, but allow the Colonials to steal them back and stun them, nicking their patrol car in the process. Hey, well done, cops.
But that's a real trope, though, isn't it? Particularly in American TVs, stupid cops, isn't it?
Yeah, and when you arm your cops, you're just asking for them to have their guns nicked off them. But anyway, they work out the Cylons will be trying to contact their base star, so they'll need Earth technology to do so, and they've got some sort of scanning device that enables them to pin them down. So that's quite helpful.
You say base star, were they called that though?
Yes. How many times have I told you that? Yes.
Okay.
Andromus and Centuri are picked up by 2 people on their way to a Halloween party, thinking the aliens are headed to the same place. Because, yes, conveniently this is Halloween, so that Centuri doesn't stand out particularly.
This is Halloween, pumpkin scream in the dead of night. This is Halloween, everybody make a scene, trick or treat. Tell the neighbors from the diaphragm, it's our town.
Yeah, this is Norman Blore, the clown is, anyway.
He's got 2 moustaches. That's just so fucked up.
He's got an actual moustache and a painted-on moustache, and they don't quite line up. It's so weird.
It's really
that added to the clown lips. It just looks so weird.
it fucked up. The moment you pointed it out to me, from that point on, it did my fucking head in, I tell you.
He was the voice of Kit in Knight Rider.
Oh.
Yeah. The other one's Shirley Blore.
I recognised her, Vampire Woman.
Ah, she was in Manimal.
Was she?
Yes. She was also in the 1966 series Dark Shadows, where she played a vampire, curiously.
Oh, well, there we are then.
Tight cast much? Anyway. They're listening to Wolfman Jack, an actual DJ in real life, who will turn up in part 2. And at least we get to listen to a bit of Disco Inferno. Well, the downside is we've already had that tune, so that's that then.
Yeah.
Thanks to covering Discovery.
Yeah. There aren't many disco tunes left, I don't think.
No, we did use up a lot of them, but anyway. The Cylons believe they can use the radio station to contact their base star, which seems a bit unlikely that they've got that sort of technology, but there you go. You know, it's broadcasting over the tri-state area. Oh, it's all right, we'll just turn the dish upwards and it'll broadcast all the way into deep space, apparently.
Well, I presume they were going to do a thing with it.
Yeah, they didn't do a thing with it, no.
And so that they could adapt it.
Nope, no sign of that happening. Anyway. There's a bad back projection pursuit after Troy and Dylan through the streets of New York, which could have made a reasonable cliffhanger, but no.
No, they don't do that. No.
The episode just stops with a really boring discussion about the people who are holding the party Norman and Shirley are going to, which is all about deadly meatballs and a woman who's desperate to find a partner, because that's what cliffhangers are made of.
Yes.
And it just freeze frames with the Cylon noise going, whoa, whoa. So, what?
What the fuck?
That was your moment to stop on? Oh. Wow. I mean, it's got promise, this, in as much as we've now got a Cylon and a human Cylon on Earth. That's interesting, but it's got so much padding. It's just rubbish.
I lost my poor meatballs. What the fuck is with the meatballs thing?
Padding. That's what is with the meatballs.
I suppose that's mostly what they're made of.
Yes, quite. Anyway, most people have fed back on both parts, but we've got Llama God feeding back on just part 1.
No parking in the red zone. The red zone is unloading and unloading. No, there's no parking in the wind zone. The wind zone is unloading and unloading only. Right then, the nights the Cylon walked the Earth. How could this possibly be any worse than the previous baseball-related episode? Because this one's got Cylons in it, right? How could this be worse? I mean, they've got to have some sort of special skills to make an episode with this sort of potential bad. And boy, do they have that skill in spades. Because they've taken something that could be good and thrilling, full of jeopardy, and what's been produced is something that is dull and tedious and boring and oh my God. Despite the fact that this is 50 minutes long, you can summarise the plot really quite simply. In that Cylons crash on Earth, Boxy with his chin and little dick have to go and find them, and Crash Cylon gets mistaken for Halloween partygoers, and they get taken to a party. That's it. That's all that happens in this episode. There's some other nonsense. There's a stupid, ridiculous, and very much of its time now, scene with hijacking on the plane, which is potentially perpetrated by a pair of Monty Python-like characters who are just atrocious and stand like nothing. And how the hell did they get a fake baby? It's just ridiculous. The whole bloody thing is laughable. And it contributes nothing to the plot at all. Not a jot. Okay, there are, I suppose, a couple of positives. The new Cylon craft looks kind of nice. It does look like an upgraded Raider. I was wondering whether they had the extra model. You know, it's got extra seats. Yay! They weren't just reusing the same shots of the Cylons looking up and to the left a little bit. So, you know, that was good. Even if the actual explosion and the thrilling dogfight were even worse overlays than we've been getting used to. We've been getting used to some pretty bad ones at that. We also learned that although he's grown quite into his chin in his jacket box, he's still a dick. He sits there in the cinema on his phone. So, yeah, he's even more of an arsehole in my book by the end of it. And, yeah, I'm taking that as a positive because, yeah, I still keep hating Boxy. That's justified. And the Cylon does get to utter the line, destroy all humans. I was just disappointed that it wasn't followed up by bite my shiny metal ass by your command. That would have been a highlight to the episode, but no, this was just really tedious. The search for the Cylons was just uninteresting, and the hilarity of the Cylons being picked up by some partygoers is milked so far that there's nothing but sand coming out of the teats. It's awful. The episode actually ends on complaints that someone's sister really needs to get laid. Yeah, nice bit of gender equal language there. Well done, everyone. The episode just ends with people talking in a car about their... What? How is this a cliffhanger? Oh, it's not. But also, it's just your typical Glenn A. Larson running out of steam. And it also leads us to the worst thing in this episode, which is there's a second part. Oh my God, I have to watch another episode of this. Oh my God, yeah, I'm gonna bite my own shiny metal ass by the end of this, I'm sure. Right, let's see how this ends.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. The hijackers are rather Monty Python. He went there as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just bad.
It is. This is the most boring of the episodes I think we've seen so far, just because the whole plane padding bit just doesn't need to be there at all.
No.
So that is frustrating.
And
And the conversation's about fucking meatballs.
I know, what the fuck is the meatball shit thing?
I wouldn't mind if it plays out in part 2
No,
as
I know.
well.
It's like, what the fuck, right? And then also, the whole plane thing, you've got to bear in mind, I'm watching this. I don't think I've ever seen this episode before, okay? I'm thinking it's going to go somewhere. I'm thinking they're going to have to use their superpowers. That maybe, given what seemed like a setup, dinner going on, maybe I can fly the plane. I'm thinking this is going to go in an airplane direction. Shit's going to go down. He's going to have to fly the plane, and he's going to be good at it because whatever. No.
Nothing to do with the story.
It lasts like fucking 30 seconds and it ends.
Well, it's longer than 30 seconds. It lasts like 30 minutes, seemingly, but...
No, as in the actual hijack bit. It's like, I'm hijacking, no, I'm dead. Well, he's not dead, is he?
Yeah,
I'm hijacking, no, I've passed out. And that's it. It's just...
Yeah, but
then,
the whole thing lasts longer than 30 seconds. That's the problem, and it's
But the actual hijacking doesn't. It's
No.
all about whether the FBI are going to turn up or not, and whether
that's
anyone
all
believes
attached
the
to it,
annoying
isn't it?
kid. And
again, it wouldn't matter if it was at all relevant to the story, but it isn't.
No, it's got nothing to do with fucking anything. I'm not angry.
Well,
I'm just confused.
Well, if you're worried about that being randomness, part 2, even worse. Here
What?
goes.
Sorry.
Your money or your life. Turn off that machine.
The guy burned down a joint with flames coming out of his fingers.
Flames coming out of his fingers.
There was a Cylon of human form.
What? He was in this 8-foot suit. It was a Cyclops. Hey, that's expensive stuff.
What emergency transmission procedures do you have?
Hey, you dudes can't do that.
We get a short but half-decent car cop chase, at least, which ends with Troy and Dillock crashing into the sea. Best place for them.
Yeah.
So,
Is it
there's
the sea
some
or
budget
is
to
it
this.
the Hudson River?
I think it's called a pier. So don't you normally have piers by the sea? I mean, maybe I'm not wrong.
I'm struggling now. I thought the New York was on the Hudson River, but maybe
No, it's by the
also on
sea, isn't it? Yeah, isn't it?
I don't know.
I think so.
Genuinely,
yes.
I don't know.
It's on the East Coast. That ought to be a giveaway, surely, if it's on the coast. Anyway,
okay, fine.
What we know about the United States could be written on the back of a very small stamp, let's face it. Or possibly on Dillock's brain. I don't know. Anyway, at the party, because yes, we do get to see the party, because that's what we really want to see, we meet Mildred, who's played by Marge Doucet, who played Kara in the original series episode where her job was to steal Spock's brain.
Nice.
She only appears in the finest sci-fi outings, this woman. And Arnie. Yes, but not that one, sadly. He was in Saturday Night Fever, this guy, apparently. Val Bisoglio. And he does like his meatballs. Anyway, enough of his meatballs. Troy and Dillock wander into a bizarre theatre show involving people dressed in Hanna-Barbera costumes.
Like, you've got Hong Kong Phooey,
Yeah.
which, you know...
Number one hero guy, or whatever he
Number
was.
one super guy.
That was him, yeah. You've got one of the Hair Bear bunch, I recognised him.
Yeah, Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo, of course. And then two others that look like Hanna-Barbera designs that never made it to this country.
Yeah, But what the fuck? It's like... what now?
Is this a Halloween tradition in the United States, having people dressed in daft children's costumes?
I
doing
don't know,
like,
is it
it's kind of like pantomime, but then they were singing the good shit Lollipop, and they had a
Maybe you should give the Royal Variety.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like we don't have any crazy traditions in this country, but...
But there was no explanation given. It's like, yes, we've turned up a building that does media. Here, have a random, weird as fuck people in fuck-off dog costumes from cartoons.
And of course,
anything.
you know, all the people who are dancing on stage who really ought to realise that Dillock and Troy haven't been to any of the rehearsals. Oh no, they're like, no, you go left here and you go right there and you lift her up, and it's like, no, you just said, get off my stage. Who the hell are you, surely? What? But it literally, oh yes, and they turn invisible when they're holding her, so she's like floating across the screen. And I was watching this going, what was Larson smoking? What the hell has this got to do with anything?
This whole
Why
thing...
was this... was this actually broadcast? Is this just an elaborate hoax that the United States are playing on us? This, you know, what?
But it made me think that maybe whatever it was that Larson was smoking is what Oliver Postgate had. Because this makes about as much fucking sense as Noggin the Nog.
Anyway, just for extra randomness, Wolfman Jack turns up at the party. Hey, Wolfman Jack!
Kevin Smith with a broken voice.
Except we know him from Fonz and the Happy Days Gang cartoon.
We do. Fucking hell.
We got it all together now, gang. The Fonz. His doggy name, Mr. Cool, and the Good Group. One flaky time machine, and a future chick named Cupcake. Oh, now the gang got zapped into that time machine, and they're like traveling through time. My. They do not dig where that machine is going, but they sure hope to get back to 1957 Milwaukee.
Can you dig it?
Yeah!
I was like, I know his voice. Where do I know his voice from? That's where I know his voice from. And Fonz and the Happy Day. I think we've referenced this already in very early Borgcast, which is just, the most surreal thing. You got Fonz and the Happy Days Gang, more of which later, by the way, in this episode. And then they decided to do Hanna-Barbera again, I think it was. Perhaps he had a contract with Hanna-Barbera, I don't know. And decided to do a cartoon, but rather than, no kids aren't going to want to watch Fonz and the Happy Days Gang, but they'll want to watch Fonz and the Happy Days Gang if they travel through time with a talking dog.
I know, what the fuck is that
in a
about?
UFO, which is about as out there as anything in Galactica 1980, isn't it? So it fits. Oh, and he lectures us about broadcasting and solar waves and stuff.
Yeah, we need that.
Indeed. Walking across Central Park at night, Troy and Dylan are accosted by muggers, for reasons of more plot padding, I suspect. They're led by a cut-price cosplay Fonz with shades that don't fit his face. It's terrible. The Colonials escape by jumping into a tree, which is the new flying bike escape, basically.
Yeah.
We get more padding about bloody meatballs
it's
in the
just
kitchen.
Like, fuck off with the meatballs.
With Arnie heating them up in a microwave and Centuri collapsing as a result. Wow.
That's how you kill a Cylon.
Yeah, they're
Use a
so well
microwave.
built, aren't they? Yeah. Andromus zaps the oven with beams from his hands, starting a Wolfman with him having... I think you're supposed to assume he's hypnotised him. There's a vague musical sting, but...
It's not obvious.
No, and it's a very handy power for him to have, if that's the case. Troy and Dylan turn up just as a child enters the burning flat after a dog, and Troy rescues him, at least giving good advice on how to survive a fire in the process.
Yeah.
Never less than educational, 1980, we'll give him that. Then we meet Police Chief Clifford, played by Bernie Hamilton, who was in Scream, Blackula Scream.
Oh, gosh, we've watched that, haven't we?
Oh, yeah. And Officer Grover, who's played by Ken Lynch, who was in Experiment in Terror, as a scientist dude who examines Apollo's tech. Colonel Briggs admits that they're after aliens from another world, and they hear about how the fire was caused. The bumbling muggers try and take on Wolfman and Andromus, and then see Centurion run for it. The Cylons hail a cab, and the owner of which is played by Arthur Batanides, who played Lieutenant D'Amato, a science officer who cops it in the original series episode That Which Survives, another third season story, which I have absolutely no memory of, I must admit.
Okay, like you mean Star Trek?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Well, it's a bit about the crew landing on a ghost planet and they're being haunted by a sexy woman.
Okay.
Yeah, it's also...
That sounds scarily like Sub Rosa in a way.
It does a bit, doesn't it? It was also Mr. Kirkland in the Police Academy films, apparently. Not that I remember any of them.
No, not well.
Anyway, the poor cabbie doesn't get paid thanks to Andromus's hypnosis, which is quite handy for him, isn't it? Dylan and Troy catch up with them, but they don't have the key to the upper floors, so they have to super jump up the shaft, taking an inordinately long time in the process, because padding. Wolfman explains the broadcasting technology to Andromus and all of us, of course. We hear That Will Be the Day by Linda Ronstadt, followed by My Life by Billy Joel, which was in Galactica Finds Earth as well, so clearly they like that tune. We have a very slow crap scene where the partygoers are interviewed by the police, and then the muggers are brought in, babbling about Centuri. The Galactica, in a whole new low, the Galactica passes backwards across the camera. What are they doing? They've got in reverse gear.
Beep. 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 This battleship is reversing.
Yeah, and Z and Adama talk about scrambling the Cylon signals. Dylan and Troy turn up and a fight scene ensues on the rooftop. It's not a bad set, except for the cock and balls designed aircon unit.
It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah. Andromas is shot, and Centuri goes to protect him, disobeying orders to finish the mission, diving into a bin. We later see the Centurion's detached head still uttering, "I will protect you." It's kind of a touching love story, really, a Centurion and his master. Oh, sweet.
The thing is, we don't see the master die, so...
No, maybe. We've only got 2 episodes to go, let's face it. And if he does crop up, I bet he's played by a different actor.
Probably. Because he's had an epidermal transfer.
Yes. The Colonials escape from the police by going invisible, which is a very handy power they've got.
Yeah.
And the police find no one except for the gibbering Wolfman. Chief Clifford tells the Colonel that New Yorkers don't believe such crap or something. It's one of the worst lines of dialogue, even in Galactica 1980, which makes no grammatical sense whatsoever. And the poor actor just does his best, but you guarantee that's the way it was written, and he's just doing it for the sake of money.
It's like Harrison Ford said on the set of Star Wars, isn't it? You can write this shit, but you can't say it.
Oh, yeah, this is worse than Lucas, though. This is far worse. Yeah, it's like they were going, oh, so if you want a successful sci-fi series, your dialogue has to make no sense whatsoever. Let's go for it, yeah. Dillock is disappointed that they don't get to explore New York anymore, and we get the UFOs aren't real folks public information slide again, because we were worried about that.
We needed that, yeah.
Wow. So this is originally going to be a single episode story.
Well, they could have taken out...
So much.
Yeah.
Given an editor, but the pen of Glenn A. Larson ran away with him again. As a result, we're stuck with this crap. I think it would have been an okay single episode. But the fact the plot relies on the Cylons being mistaken for Halloween revelers is pretty stupid even for 1980, it has to be said.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I thought it was better than Spaceball. But
well,
not
it's more interesting, but that's only
more
because
random.
you don't know what the fuck is going on.
No, it literally, there was some, you just randomly freeze frame a scene from this story. You're like, what am I watching?
Yeah, just those fucking dancing cartoon dog things. What the fuck is that?
Anyway, what did Jeff Hyman think?
He says, there was a more solid story in this one, buried under mountains of padding.
Yes.
The concept of a Cylon that could pass as a human is brilliant. I'd love to see someone pick up on that and really explore it. Part 1 focused on Dylan and Troy experiencing commercial air travel, and boy was it spot on. So much so, I felt like I was experiencing an actual tedious flight myself. Though I've never been on a plane that was briefly hijacked by Geraldo Rivera and Tom Hanks for his bosom buddies days. Remarkably, there are moments of characterisation and human warmth between Kent and Barry in the scenes on the airplane, especially the ribbing where Dylan wonders if he'd be allowed to fly the plane for a bit.
Yes, they almost get given personalities at that point, don't
almost. I think they also repeated the scene of Adama and Dr. Z discussing the advancements of the Cylons wholesale from an earlier episode. That was odd. Yeah, I think they did.
At the beginning, yes.
Yeah.
It's their new sort of, this is what the series is about now thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, human Cylon Andromas and his loyal Centurion bodyguard are hitchhiking and get picked up by Kit. This time, the sweeping red light is the car instead of on the hood. Part 2 focuses on the hijinks of the Cylon pair at a Halloween party and Troy and Dylan making their way through the Big Apple in pursuit. As it turns out, the Earth does have technology to defeat the Cylons. You just need to strap a microwave oven to high and set on high to the noses of all the Vipers. I guess Colonials must be pretty stupid. Not only did they think that this island Earth was some kind of documentary, but they thought the costume characters at the variety show were actual animals of some kind. After what I was sure was supposed to be a hilarious comedy dance number, our heroes are held up in the park by a cut-price Fonzie and the third-string Sweat Hogs. Hopefully you got Welcome Back Cotter in the UK at some point. What the fuck?
No, not heard of that, I'm afraid.
No, sorry. Finally, Troy and Dylan catch up with the Cylons as they're about to put their evil plan into motion, and the true heart of the story is revealed. This was actually a tragic love story about the devoted Centurion and Andromas, and it ends in perfect Romeo and Juliet fashion. Oh, and Wolfman Jack was there too. He was a sea-level celebrity DJ that showed up on any number of television shows throughout this period. Wow, I really rambled on this time. Despite being pretty lousy, I had a ball watching these episodes. I just guess I want to see how much more ridiculous it could get.
Yes.
Sorry for the long-winded missive, and thanks for the great show.
Thank you, Jeff. Yes. Yes, it is. Damn random, isn't it?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Damn random. We have heard from Oh!
Hello again, Peter and Emery. I'm going to talk to you now about both parts of The Night the Cylons Landed. And, well, the title gives away sort of the best thing about this, that the Cylons are back and they're actually doing stuff. And we've got a new spaceship and a new footage of space things happening. And, God, it's sad that it comes to that's the high watermark of this show. But, yeah, I quite like that opening section with the spaceships and the Viper crew going, we can't get back in touch with Galactica, we can't hit this thing, we can't damage it, let's ram it and see what happens. And that sends the Cylons on a collision course with Earth, where they'll probably die, except that they probably won't because, plot. Troy and Dylan abandon the children that are in their care and go off on a mission to intercept the crashing Cylon craft. Which, they shouldn't be just abandoning the kids all the time. It's not a great message to be sending, but it's sensible that, they're on Earth, they know how Earth works, so they're sent to go and get it. Fine. And this sequence is, I think, emblematic of everything that's wrong with Galactica 1980. There's the scene on the plane, and there are hijackers, and Troy and Dylan foil the hijackers. A scene that pads out the episode and does nothing. There's a phrase, does nothing, goes nowhere, which I've heard from somewhere in script writing terms. And Galactica 1980 is absolutely full of them. In every episode, there's about 10 minutes of something that doesn't advance the plot, doesn't advance character, doesn't do anything, doesn't go anywhere. Get it over and done with, and on you go. In the second episode, it's the song and dance routine, which is, risible. But in every single episode, there is something that just doesn't need to be there, that's just occupying time on the videotape, and it's ridiculous. Anyway, once they get to New York, they go and, get arrested, and there's the police are chasing Troy and Dylan, and then the Cylons, who have taken human form. That's an interesting idea. I wonder if that'll ever come back. I wonder if anyone will ever come back to that. They're gone to find a transmitter, so they're, it's lucky it's Halloween, but whatever, it's a coincidence, but it kind of works for the plot. And so there's this sort of double chase going on. And I don't know, the first episode kind of held my attention, the second one was extremely tedious. And again, there's the scene with the fire and getting the kids out of the fire, and it just doesn't do anything. It's interesting that the Cylons can be switched off by a microwave oven. You would think that someone would have noticed that over the preceding however many hundreds of years of warfare that's gone on between the Colonials and the Cylons, but obviously not. And in any other show, that would be a plot point. We'd be going, aha! They'll find that they'll find that out, and they can use that against the Cylons. Brilliant, No, it's just a thing that happened, and move on. Doesn't do anything. Doesn't go anywhere. Weird. And then there's the shootout on the roof of the transmitter building, or whatever it was, the International Trade Center, or whatever it was supposed to be. Now, I posted this on Twitter about an hour ago. The bit of set dressing that Troy hides behind, with the sort of the tall thing in the middle, and then the two circular fan things on the sides. It's cock and balls, isn't it? It's quite deliberately a cock and balls. I think everyone knows what the set designers thought of this show. And yeah, I don't know, it was just a bit shit. But I don't know why I would expect anything different from Galactica 80 at this point. But at least there's only one proper episode of this, and then we've got the Return of Starbuck, which is a different thing entirely. So I do have one last thing for you to think about before signing off, and that is these DVDs have a play all button. How many times has that button ever been pressed? I'm going to guess less than 2. Thank you ever so much for your podcast. I always look forward to it and always enjoy it, and I will look forward to hearing your thoughts on these 3 episodes. I reckon it's at least a 10 pinter, Anne-Marie. So, hope you're bearing up. Good luck with work tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Yes, play all and abandon hope, all ye who enter.
Yeah. And yeah, maybe that cock and balls thing was a deliberate comment by the set dressers.
Maybe. And GNDN, yeah, that originates in Star Trek The Next Generation, because they had pipes on the Enterprise D, conduits sort of marked GNDN, and it stood for goes nowhere, does nothing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of become a thing ever since.
Yes. That's what this episode did, in the main.
In the main, yes. I mean, as I say, had it been 1 episode, it would have been fine, but as 2 episodes... way too much padding.
Yeah, well, I've had enough beer to start hiccuping now.
I had noticed that, yes.
Sorry.
So moving swiftly on whilst you hiccup. We'll hear from the Lava God.
Well, that was certainly the second part of that story, wasn't it? Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all I have to say. Okay, I never thought I really would identify with the commander of a space-going fleet, but by the end of this, I felt just as bored as Lorne Greene was in his acting during this drama segment. This is so much potential just pissed away with some pointless set pieces because Larson just didn't know what he's doing. The scenes at the party drag on. The scenes with the mugger, the lead mugger, what is he an actual person? It looks like they were using a Disneyland animatronic at some points. It's been preloaded with a dodgy American-Italian stereotype accent. It's just so much padding when there could have been a really much more interesting story. There's your typical misunderstandings along the way. For some reason, Chin and Little Dick just can't quite figure out that the performers in costumes are actually in costumes. They think they're giant dogs. Hilarious. Although, I mean, to be fair, that's the kind of humour that I'd have found amusing as a 6-year-old. Anything more than that would have been embarrassing. This was embarrassing. Did they just do that whole song and dance routine just to remind everybody that Little Dick is indeed a Little Dick Van Dyke? If so, it wasn't even that much an interesting of a song and dance routine as it was. There's a whole scene where the police interrogate the partygoers after the Cylons blow up the incredibly rather faulty microwave anyway. If a microwave is leaking that much radiation they can take out a Cylon warrior, then yeah, they were doomed anyway. But the interrogation scene is pointless because they just spend 5 minutes telling us things that we already knew anyway. And it all culminates in an exciting firefight on the roof in which nothing much really happens apart from the Cylons jumping off in a moment of tragic comedy. It's just bizarre that anyone signed off on this and got it made. Clearly, as has been evidenced by the blogs you mentioned before, everyone was just pissed. No one wanted to do this and everyone just wanted to take the paychecks and go home, and you can see that so much here. The only one that's putting any decent shift into the acting is the Air Force commander guy, I can't remember his name, who's the only person who's acting like he's actually appearing in a decent drama. Everyone else is just phoning it in at best, and Jamie gets completely sidelined throughout the entire episode. She's potentially one of the best characters, she's not even there. This is just awful. As I say, to be a bit more positive about it, I guess looking back on it, as I say, as a child, I would have probably found this quite entertaining. Superpowered beings living among us, Cylons that can disguise themselves as humans. Now there's an idea, I wonder if they'll ever do anything with that again. The best thing about the drama record really was the fact that when they're in the firefight on the roof, there's an air vent that looks like a penis. No, really, go back and have a look at it. One big air vent thing with 2 smaller circular ones at the bottom of it. Giant dick on the roof. And the whole episode ending with the Cylons still being active in the trash. I mean, that's a story that will pay off later. Oh, we've only got 2 episodes left. So another positive is that there's only 2 episodes left. So, I would apologise for being incredibly negative during these bits of feedback, but honestly, can you expect anything else? I am, however, very much looking forward to hearing what everyone else makes of this, and I'm looking forward to hearing whether Anne-Marie can actually stay conscious during your feedback for these episodes, because as bad as the opening three-parter is, this is far worse. Still, only 2 more to go, and then we go on to something much better. Unless you've got different plans for us. Do you? Do you have a plan? Well, I guess I'll find out soon enough. Buy your podcast.
That would be a rotten tease, wouldn't it?
Oh.
Yeah, Super Galactica 1918, you get BSG. Oh, but wait. We're going to do Automan instead.
Fuck no.
No,
I would need
really don't.
a
Really,
new
we
liver.
could not do that to anybody. I mean, not to say we might not cover it in the future, but not this side.
Are you going to buy me a liver?
Buy me a liver. Buy me a liver. That's asking to be karaoke'd at some point, isn't it?
It is a bit. I have cheated though, because actually we watched.
Oh, pull the curtains back.
Watched the Spaceball shite episode last night.
Yeah, we really couldn't mainline 3 episodes of 1980 again.
I've got to go to work tomorrow, and also I'm not well at the moment, and it was just like, no, I'm going to end up fucking in hospital.
This is the road to hell. So
Yeah.
yes, we split it between 2 nights. So there we go. And yes, there's dodgy microwaves. No wonder the meatballs are so bad, because they're obviously irradiated.
Oh, I don't know.
That was so random. Why would that affect a Cylon, for heaven's sake?
I don't know. But you're right. Jamie has been completely sidelined.
Yeah, she's just
and
forgotten,
the thing
isn't she?
the moment that plane's crashing, that's a fucking story. She should be there, shouldn't she?
It's not crashing, it's being hijacked.
No, sorry, the ship...
Oh, the spaceship crashing. Okay, yes. Arguably, and she's a thing for aliens, but I think she's working for a relatively local network, so therefore it wouldn't make any sense for her to be travelling, completely to the other side of the continent. So
okay.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I think it was a lucky break for her not being in this personally, but there you go.
Yeah. But you notice her absence.
You do, yes.
Probably.
The brain cells average drops.
Just a little bit, yes. Just a tad.
Drew and Tracy, did this kill them? Let's find out.
So you just made me watch part 1 and part 2 of The Night the Cylons Landed.
I did.
What did you think of that one?
I think this is, so far, the least entertaining episodes.
Well, not cut into, like cutting forward or anything, but like when they introduced episode 2, they said, and now for the exciting conclusion.
I know.
No, I think I was sold a duffin on that one, love.
I know.
What I will say...
Oh, yeah.
It was about fucking time we saw a Cylon, because it's been about 7 and 12 episodes where it's just been about these kids who can jump and throw balls
but I
into
think
infinity.
I that stuff.
But I want to see a Cylon. Battlestar Galactica is about Cylons. It's about battling the baddies. Come on now. So we knew that Bobby Ball and Eric Idle from Monty Python in drag
we're going to be the hijackers.
Yeah, they were going to be terrorists.
Sorry, he did look a little bit like Eric Idle. I expected him to go, oh yeah,
he's a very naughty man. But I also think, is there not some kind of danger in showing how terrorists can make a weapon out of like a pram? Because
I'm just going to put it out there. It's a really good idea.
There's someone sitting at home going, fuck, I can do that. I just don't like that kind of thing.
No. And they was going to Cuba.
Well.
Oh dear.
Yes. So good to see that Dylan and Troy travelled on at least 3 different airlines while they were going from wherever to wherever. And then they got a detour. They took off on American Airlines.
Yeah, and then they was flying in...
And then I saw Pan Am, and then I'm sure they landed on TWA.
Yeah.
So that's some good going.
It is good going.
And I don't even know where the fuck they were going, to be fair. But...
East Coast, wasn't it?
But they got... so it's not specific, but they got detoured, and also... The Cylon ship was detoured because that was heading for New York.
Yeah.
So it just happened. You know, it was just a happy coincidence that they both got detoured and they were there to save the day.
Yep.
Again.
Why every time they go invisible...
Yeah.
And then they're getting away from someone, do they shove everyone out the way? They're rude gits, aren't they?
Yeah,
just
they
walk
are.
Around them.
But it's 80s effect to kind of say, yes, I'm invisible, here I am.
Just walk round.
Yeah. So Andromus,
yes,
when they have the crash, in the Cylon ship, and he's like, "You need to save me."
Yes,
he's a fucking cyborg.
Yeah, Cylon, yeah, he's a
robot.
He's
a cyborg, isn't he? He's a robot. He's a robot human. Why can't he save himself?
I don't know.
That I am here to serve you. Fucking
do it
serve
yourself.
Himself. Yeah, lazy bastard.
As soon as we saw Troy and Dylan grabbing them suits, we was like, we know what's coming next. They're going to be roped into the dance act,
It was just really cheese-tastic. But what I said to you was, okay, so they've been kind of drawn into the cabaret. Why do they then start trying to do the dance? Why would you not go?
Just go.
I'm chipping it. Laters. Bye.
Laters, cheese bags.
Yeah, and I am surprised that both of their outfits, like Dylan's brown trousers and jacket and Troy's stuff, didn't walk off on their own when they took them off, because they've been wearing them for about...
Were they space clothes, or did they buy them in
12
in
episodes? It's just
I'm not
fucking
too
ridiculous.
sure.
They've been to like California, they've been to
Space
New York,
clothes.
they've been in a desert.
Or did they buy them
must
over here?
stink.
Not too sure.
Nasty. So in the party, no one saw the rays coming out of...
Well, they did. That's what I thought at first. But then they did say he's got fire coming out of his hands.
But they kind of mentioned it afterwards. If I was in a house and I saw rays coming out of someone's hand, I'd be like...
You'd be like, what? I'm afraid you're going to have to leave the party now.
Party over. Yeah. Anywho, this was disappointing.
Yeah, It's at least good Galactica 80 so far. I don't know why. It just didn't have the spark of the other ones.
I wanted the Cylons. When it was like Cylons in the preview, and I was like, yeah, come on now. I've been fucking waiting for this. Like, why was like a Cylon not a bit... He didn't even mention the fact that his mate had kind of perished in the crash.
Yeah, but they weren't the robots. You did say the first time, oh, what about his mate? It's like, they're cold robots.
Well, no. I know. But it just felt a bit harsh, didn't it?
Yeah, not the best episodes, these two.
I just feel like this is getting worse.
Yeah, I think it is as well. But anyway.
Leave it there.
Okay.
How many more?
I think 3, 2, I don't know. Very few.
Holy moly. Alright, leave it there.
Okay.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye. 2 to go.
Yeah.
2 to go, thank heavens.
In terms of the way the Cylons react, given the way that they react to the idea that they've only got a 1% chance of survival, it's showing emotion there, so you would expect them actually to react to the demise of their kin or whatever they are, wouldn't you?
Mm.
So I think actually it doesn't make sense that they don't react.
They have said before now, haven't they? So yeah, they've got some sort of emotions, haven't they, these things?
They are Teletubbies.
Yeah. But yeah, interesting point that the humanoid Cylons appear to be less strong and reliant on the mechanoid Cylons, which will carry over as well, actually, interestingly. Yeah. So yeah. Hey ho.
And yeah, very much Eric Idle.
Yes.
Yeah.
And those puffer jackets were bought way back in the pilots when they were on Earth. So yes, they have been wearing those a long while. Although they did spend some time in the scouting red cagoules, but yeah.
Well, yeah, but even so, they're going to honk, aren't they?
They are going to honk, yeah. Well, did we kill Pie Man as well? Let's find out.
Hello again, Purry here to talk about the Cylons walk the Earth. Now, I'm trying to be excited here, and in fairness, there's a lot not to criticise in this. I'm not sure if just the last couple of episodes have beaten me down, but there is a bit more to enjoy in this. For starters, I was going to say, hey, we get a new spaceship, that's cool, isn't it? But you know what, no, this series owes us a new spaceship. We've put up with a lot here. We've put up with, quite frankly, reheated plots from Chips and probably Matlock or Hunter or something, and we deserve a spaceship, and we deserve a new spaceship. So we get it, and it's cheap, it's not as classic as a Raider, but I kind of liked having a slightly spiffier spaceship to look at. There might have even been some new footage, I could be imagining it. Probably was, to be honest, new footage. We can't. I mean, I know we got the flying saucer a few days back, but a new Galactica spaceship, not just a flying saucer. So there was that to enjoy. In fairness, with this story, I'm going to come out and say there's about an episode's worth of good material here. So this is our first experience of a human cyborg. Wow, that's amazing. So there could be like Cylons in the fleet infiltrating. No, they instead dress up as a 1950s kind of radio show. Well, not radio show appearance, but your sort of cinema reel Buck Rogers, Flash Gordon style villain suits. They've got the little winged things on the shoulders and the funny helmets. That said, there was some unintentional. I mean, I do love the Cylons for unintentional comedy in this. And for starters, when they're calculating their chances of surviving the crash, and it comes out, the human Cylons all have a 0.3% chance or something in it, or 3% chance, and then the Centurions have a 1% chance of survival, and they all kind of turn around and look at them, and later on, like I say, the Cylon going around with, I'm going to call him Andy, going around with Andy just seems to be getting more and more pissed off with his lot in life, I'm a Cylon Centurion, I'm a walking death machine with a red roving eye and a blaster, and oh no, I'm going to a Halloween party. Oh, everyone's impressed. Now I've got to go and listen to someone talk about his bloody meatballs. What have I done with my life? Baltar would have been better at this, and I kind of feel that Andy's our cheap replacement for Baltar, that they possibly wanted someone human to fit in. The human Cylon idea is good. I don't think they do nearly as much with it as they could, but overall, like I say, if you'd had this condensed into one episode and missed what's all the superfluous fluff I'm about to discuss, this could have been quite good. So once again, Troy and Dylan Pam off the Super Scouts to Jamie, and then she says, oh no, you can't just fly your motorbikes across America, it would be too obvious, you've got to catch a flight, largely to slow down the plot. And yeah, we've got this tedious sequence of, yes, they're on a plane, oh no, a terrorist takes over the plane and says it's going to Cuba. Because every time I pretend to hijack someone, I always say we're going to Cuba, you know. Last time I was on a bike, this bike is going to Cuba, and I'm the only one riding it. And yeah, so they do, and they stun them, and then they're going to be here. They're the worst at being incognito as well. Have you noticed that? Like, you know, there's now basically Troy and Dylan should just go to the Galactica because the entire States now has an APB out on them. You know, they've stolen. They have a police chase in a police car. They, you know, are possibly rescued, you know, sort of thwart a hijacking, but get caught doing it. They're caught near the scene of the crashed ship. They do have the new Air Force bloke looked familiar. I couldn't place him, but he did look familiar. I wonder if he's chased the A-Team at one point. You know, and so they're the worst at keeping undercover, and as a result, basically they're entirely their life's a lot harder because everyone keeps recognising them. But we had this horrific padding in the episode. It could have just been. I'm okay with the Cylons attending a Halloween party, even. I thought it was some fun. And we did get William Daniels, and William Daniels is always good money. And also, William Daniels sitting next to Cylon, and he's going to nick the eye and stick it in the front of the car he's going to voice. Always fun. But, you know, things like that, you know, the Halloween party was quite fun. Even though, again, how people don't follow I am interested in this thing you humans call radio. We had some facts thrown in. I'm guessing that Wolfman Jack bloke was famous at the time, but, you know, I'll tell you what's impressive. In this date, when Marconi, there you go, educational box ticked, done. But, you know, the whole thing about them having to pursue the Cylon, you know, crash Cylon to New York and stop them broadcasting. That's actually a solid story. And I think you've cut out all the superfluous gubbins. The flight, the them taking part in a stage show, the endless comedy muggers. Oh, God, those muggers. I think you could have had a tight single episode that actually would have been pretty decent. But sadly, you know, they padded it out too, and as a result, basically like diluting anything else, they weakened it. So, definitely, I'd say, I mean, this is damning with faint praise, but probably the best we've had so far out of Galactica 1980. I mean, it's this or Galactica Discovers Earth, really, are the two that have done it, and neither are that impressive, but it's better than anything else we've dealt with so far. So, yeah, we're currently running the crest of the wave of high in Galactica 1980. Woohoo! Still, there's only 2 episodes to go if I'm reading my DVD box right, so please tell me there's only 2 episodes to go. So I'll be back next time to talk about the last 2 episodes of Galactica 1980, and we can put this thing to bed and never speak of it again. But do keep up the good work. I do enjoy the podcast, and if it wasn't for you guys talking to it, I wouldn't have made it through this series. And I look forward to the next episode. So until then, bye for now.
Bye. Yeah, let's watch the last 2 and never speak of it again. I like that idea. I'm going with that.
Yeah, I mean, there is excitement to be had with a new spaceship at least, and it is a nice design.
But it's not in it enough.
No, it's in it for the first 5 minutes, and that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it would have made a good 1-episode story, definitely.
And Troy and Dylan are the absolute worst at going incognito.
It's terrible. It was so good when they were stuck on that ship with receding oxygen in the previous story, wasn't it? It's like, and
the haunted photograph.
Can you not do that again? Yeah. And yes, the new Air Force bloke you were recognising from Star Trek: The Next Generation, I'm sure, Burry. But there we go. We can assure you that we will indeed be... it's only 2 episodes to go. There's a recurring theme of... please tell me it's only 2 more. And B, we can reassure you that we will be moving on to BSG in August.
Yeah.
And just to let you know with that one, the mini-series is quite long. And so that we're not completely pickled by the end of it. We shall be... it is naturally broken into 2 nights. Night 1 and Night 2, and each last an hour and a half. So we'll, in the first coverage of BSG, we shall be covering just the first hour and a half of the mini series. It kind of ends when they're about to jump for the first time in the Galactica, and I say it's an hour and a half in. So just to let you know, we'll just be covering that half in the first episode. So if you want feedback, just feedback on that half. Because yes, otherwise it's a. I can remember the first time we watched it was a very long night because we hadn't realised it was going to be as long as that, and like at 3 o'clock in the morning it was going. That was brilliant, but I really need my bed.
Basically, yeah.
Yes. So anyway, but having got all excited about that, there are 2 more episodes of 1980 to cover.
Of course.
We're recording on Friday the 26th of July, and we're covering Space Croppers.
That sounds good.
Yeah, it's got lots of people editing images, presumably. I've no idea what that's about.
No, it's fucking farming. I bet it was fucking farming.
Oh no, please no.
But it's fucking farming.
And the return of Starbuck. Eh? Yes, the return of Starbuck, which I'm assured is a good episode, apparently.
Right.
Yes. And is indeed Dirk Benedict. So yeah, we got that to look forward to.
Oh, I don't know.
I say, I have heard good things, so maybe, but thank you to everybody who's fed back and survived this appalling experience.
There's not much left now.
No, we're nearly there now. I'd say things can only get better, but Space Croppers. Croppers?
That's not sounding good.
It's not at all. Anyway, cheery by your leave.
Anything under 5%, I don't want to drink it. Ugly frontage, don't even think it. I want my handheld pumps. I want the sci-fi meat. I want Dave and Barbara to refer me to the blackboard. 'Cause I'm a cameraman.
The music at the beginning of this podcast was arranged and performed by Drew Barker.
All other music is used for illustrative purposes only, and no copyright infringement is intended.
The artwork for Borgcast Galactica was created by Lee Medcalf.
To contact us, send emails or MP3s to borgcast@gmail.com.
Contact us via Twitter at rev_org or broadcastammo. #Borgcast.
Visit our website at galactica.libsyn.com.
Or view images relating to our cast on our Tumblr site, broadcast.tumblr.com.
There's also a Spotify playlist with all our play-out tunes on it.
Shut it down!
No, I got little Willie! Call him off!
Fucking hell. Fuck me. Fucking hell. What the